Books, books. I like books. I'm gonna read them all.
Hi readers, Chris here. Welcome to my channel where I review fantasy, Stephen King, all sorts of books, and today I'm talking about Hearts in Atlantis. This book was published in 1999 and is the final Stephen King book from the 90s. I just recently did a full update of my entire experience reading all of King's books from the 90s. I'll link it above or maybe in the description box, whichever editing me feels like doing. So Hearts in Atlantis is definitely one of the more interesting King books that I've ever read. So this book is definitely different than things I've read before, and I'm going to tell you why. So it's really hard to explain the setup of this book because the way that this book is structured is that it takes place in multiple different timelines. So starting in the 60s and then all the way up to the 90s, there are different stories that take place in different decades. So there's like 4 or 5 stories in here, and you can almost say that they're like their own novellas, their own short stories, but they are interconnected and interwoven in certain ways. And I think that was interesting to play with the timeline in that way. However, I don't think it worked for me the way it probably was intended to work. So let's start with what I like about this book. And as per usual, the thing that I like most about this book are the characters, especially in the first chunk of the book, the section that takes place during the 60s. It features like a young boy. He's being raised by a single mother, and he meets an older gentleman who kind of becomes his friend, this father figure who kind of protects him from these low men, so to say. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but he also protects him from bullies. His mother kind of has her own bullies. Like, it doesn't sound like much, I feel like, when I say it out loud, but it's a really well-constructed story about a young boy who is really missing something in his life. And this stranger kind of comes in and really fulfills this role of being a father and a protector and someone that the boy can look up to and trust and believe in. And that whole section, like the first part of this book, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed Bobby's story and the low men and like kind of getting to know this world and the way that it's set up. And the fact that when these low men show up, pets start to go missing. Like, there's some really cool stuff in there. Then it kind of abruptly jumps to a different story in a different time period. And while some of the characters do cross over, it's strange because the story doesn't follow one main character. So the main character in the first story is this young boy, Bobby. Bobby's not really in any of the other stories. He's mentioned, but like the side characters in Bobby's story are then in other stories, if that makes sense. I feel like this book would have worked better for me if there had been one main character throughout the decades. And that's just me personally. Someone else could have a totally different opinion. I did like a couple of the other stories, and I almost feel it's like if you've ever read a short story collection, like there's certain ones that you connect with more than others. And that's how I felt reading this book. There were certain parts of it that I connected more than others. There was a couple stories in here in certain decades that I was just like, I didn't really care for that at all. I didn't care for the characters. I didn't care for the setting. I didn't care about like what happened. So this book was really up and down for me. It had some really good high points, and then it had some other points where I was just like, I don't even know what the point of this is. So I feel like I'm complaining, but I don't want to say this book is bad. Like, I've definitely read other King books that I have personally felt are bad or not great, and I don't think this one is bad. I just think it's okay. Like, I respect that he tried something different in here, and I respect that he was playing with timelines and that type of stuff, and I respect the direction that some of the stories were going in. it just didn't work for me 100% of the time. I'm gonna say it worked about 50% of the time. It worked about 50% of the time, and then the other half, obviously, it did not. The other thing I want to mention here is that, I talk a lot about the fact that King has this ability to kind of find the horrors in everyday life, right? He has the ability to take a story about two normal people and turn it into something terrifying because people can just really be mean to each other and mistreat each other. I feel like this book wasn't horrifying enough to be like a true King horror book, if that makes sense. Because there are definitely horrifying things that happen. I think specifically, I keep mentioning the first story in here. The young boy, Bobby, his mother, has a very horrifying experience. And again, it's just something that regular people do to each other that's horrifying. And there are a couple other flashes of that throughout the book, but considering how long and how chunky this book is, I just didn't feel like there was enough of it. And again, maybe if there was that single through line, if there was a single character who showed up in all of these different stories, maybe that would have worked better for me. I don't know. So yeah, honestly, that's really all I want to say about this one. I kind of feel like considering this is the last book he published in the 90s kind of went out with a whimper. Wah, wah, wah. I definitely liked The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon way more than this one. But this one, again, it's not terrible. It's just okay. So if you are like me and you want to read everything King has ever written, then yes, you should definitely give this one a try. However, if you're just looking for the hits and the really, really good stuff, I think you can probably skip this one, and I would definitely recommend going to read The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon instead. So that is it for me today and from Roscoe. So now we want to know from you, have you read Hearts in Atlantis? Have you ever read another book that takes place in multiple timelines like this? Let Roscoe and I know in the comments section below. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for more bookish stuff and more furry friends coming your way soon. All right, everyone. Happy reading. Roscoe, why are you so sweet? Why are you such a sweet boy? Why are you such a sweet boy? Oh, thank you, baby. Thank you. Are you done? No? Are you done now?